Welcome, everyone, to Music Junkies, a podcast about people sharing extraordinary stories about how music has impacted their lives.
So I'm excited. We got the great Tim Steinruck, singer, guitar player of the Mighty One. What an awesome band. Tim, I know you're a veteran songwriter, musician, and performer. I'm excited to talk about your recent album today, Torch of Rock and Roll. It's honestly a brilliant insight to your journey. And this album really, honestly, just makes me feel like rock and roll is back. So thank you so much for joining us on Music Junkies today. I'm excited. I'm excited to dissect your new album and then obviously just find out who you are as a human, right? Which is really, really cool.
Oh, it's so great to be here, and I just want to thank you so much for your work. You had one of my booking agents, Brandy Lee, on your show, and really inspired me. And I'm like, oh man, I got to talk to this lady. This sounds so cool. So yeah, it's a real honor to be here. And excuse me while I sort of dissect my beard for you. Right? Like I said,
I was just thinking,
undressing.
It's so long. Like I'm thinking, like how many vaginas have been in that beard, right?
Oh man, it's like a library on your face, right?
Most of the time it could be, right? It could be a library on your face. So I want to jump in and just kind of get to know you a little bit. And obviously you've been a musician for a long time. Mm-hmm. You've had lots of success. The Latins love you, what we were talking about. But I just wanted to know, what is the most thing that you love about being a musician? And then what's the biggest thing that you dislike about it?
Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, obviously, there's nothing that I love more than being creative. Okay. So whether that's writing a story or whether that's writing a song, but music is that gift that I was given, and it's my ultimate expression of my creativity. I always say that creativity is the ultimate expression of the soul. So if my ultimate expression is music, that's really where it's at for me. And so this is incredible gift that I want to share with the world, but it's the vehicle from which I can express my soul. So that's what I love the most about music, is that it's a direct expression. And you asked me what I don't like about music?
Not necessarily about music, but just obviously growing up in the industry, all the adversity, things that a lot of musicians go through. What is one piece of that you wish maybe that would change, or you don't really enjoy?
I think, I wish that it was a little easier in the industry. However, that being said, I know that pivoting in this industry is the most important action that we can take, right? So I kind of feel like Muhammad Ali, right? You have to bob and weave and dance around a little bit, right? And so I wished it was a more straightforward path, and that it was a defined path, but it's not. Yeah. And now more than ever, it's a changing path almost on a monthly basis.
Wow.
Right. So we need to pivot. What's the latest social media? Okay, I got to get my TikTok going. Okay, what's going to be the next thing? My Snapchat. So I mean, all of those things, and seeing those vehicles, and they come and they go, and they come and they go. But it's not unlike different genres of music being popular and not being popular.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a matter of pivoting, but right now, like you said earlier, you said that rock was back, and this, that is our moniker right now, that rock is not dead. And that's why the torch of rock and roll burns brighter than ever before. Right. And we're here, and we've got it. I've got the torch of rock and roll from the 1980s, like the real torch of rock and roll, right?
That's right.
So a lot of kids are embracing that and bringing their version of that. But, here we are with the actual, authentic, real torch of rock and roll, and we're here to show it, and we're here to pass it too.
I love it. And you know, since we've met and I've listened to your album, this is so bizarre. I don't know why this is happening. And I've had the Kiss song, God Gave Rock and Roll to You, in my head since we've met every single day. It's so bizarre. Like, I don't know why, but it just will not go away. And I just like, I've been listening to it every day and I'm like, God, this is so interesting that this song is coming up. I'm meeting you, you know, and you're bringing back rock and roll. And you can even kind of tell in that song that there is a little Kiss flavor, right? Like you can kind of feel that anthem style, which I love so much. And I think that I miss rock and roll so much because it's more of a crowd pleaser, right? The crowd gets to be involved in that. We get to sing with the bands that we love. We get to like light the flame. We get to do all of that stuff. And I feel like we've moved so far from that it's went like super, super hard where you're just like, I'm not really into moshing at 46 years old anymore. Right?
It hurts the next day.
I just want to be the one that has like this hanging chair that I can sit above the mosh pit where I can see the band really close, right? That's the money I want to make.
Wow. Well, hey, well, first of all, thank you so much for wearing the Kiss shirt today.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's so cool. What a beautiful honor that is. And, you know, because Kiss obviously is front and center for me as the inspiration for me as a kid, you know, growing up. And, you know, I grew up in a religious family. I grew up in northern British Columbia, you know, so, you know, the church was everything. That was my stage. I mean, I left home very early because I did not want to be there anymore. I didn't feel connected to working on the farm. I didn't want to be isolated. I mean, I got my first taste of Vancouver at whatever age, 12, 13. And I'm like, this is where I want to be. Right.
Yeah.
And so everything was, you know, movement towards that. However, looking back, I am so grateful for the upbringing that I did have because I was in show business since I was a little kid. Like my dad was the organist in the church, right? And so, and my mom, she always did a solo, you know, like she sang. So before the sermon, she would sing. And then as we grew up as kids, now we were allowed to come in and do that too. So we would be rehearsing all week for the show that happened on Sundays. So, wow, I've been in show business since I was a little kid. You know, first I was playing the drums up on the stage with my dad. And then, you know, I learned the bass and then I brought out the guitar and then I got the distortion pedal and they went, time out.
You should have started with the crybaby pedal.
So you bring up the song, you know, God gave rock and roll to me. Yeah, God did give rock and roll to me. And so I really identify with Paul Stanley when he sings that song, because it is a religious real rock and roll is a religious experience. Yeah. And like you say, you know, it's not a spectator sport. It is something that you become involved in. It's a participant situation. And so when you go to see Metallica or you go to see Aerosmith or you go to see Motley Crue, you're singing every song at the top of your lungs because it's like, wow, this is my church. I belong to the church of rock and roll.
That's right. And it's so rare now that you could even go, like, I'm somewhat grateful for like iTunes and stuff like that, because could you imagine going and buying a full record right now? Like it would just be maybe one or two songs. But back then it was like, we didn't have a choice. You had, you know, a tape deck, you were listening to it, you're rewinding it, you know, it wrecked, you were taping it together, you were doing all of that stuff. And you were forced to listen to those songs. And then you learned to love them, even if you didn't like them. You just learned to love them. And then going to see those bands, you knew all of the songs and you were just like part of the experience. And that's really how I felt when I was listening to your album. Like I was like, oh, this so needs to get out there more. More people need to get back to this. It just feels good, right? It's just that feel good energy. So I love it. I love it. We're
Oh,
going to
that's
start with your
awesome.
first song.
Okay.
Some songs that you sent me.
Okay.
So I love that I get to play as long as I want because no copyright. So good. Christmas in the North. So good.
Christmas in the North. Yeah. Well, that's, again, there's a whole story there. So that was the first thing we released, prior to the Torture Rock and Roll. If you buy the physical album, then Christmas in the North is actually a hidden track on the record.
Oh, no way.
But if you go to Spotify or something like that, you don't get it, although it is there as a single. But so Christmas in the North, great story on this one. I was about to release one of the first singles from the record, and I came across these people online, and we messaged back and forth. It was through another musician friend of mine, and this guy reached out to me. His name is Aswell Critta, and I'm like, Aswell Critta sounds like a scam, right? You know what I mean? He reaches out, "Hi, how you doing, bro?" and blah 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 blah, and I'm just like, "Who the fuck are you?" Right? This is on Messenger, right? And he's like, "Oh," he says, I'm a friend of Dwayne's." I'm like, "Oh, okay." He goes, "Yeah, I'm a DJ in New Zealand, and I just wanted to let you know that I like your music." And I'm like, "Wow, cool, awesome." And within about 20 minutes, I met the producer. We were talking in person on the phone, and then we set up this meeting online, and they introduced me to this band from Norway. And so we got together with this band, and I started talking to Gear from the band Viking Queen, and Barbara and Grant from New Zealand, and we'd get together like this on Zoom during the pandemic, right? This is when the pandemic was really enforced. We couldn't go anywhere, and we'd sit here and we would party till like 4 or 5 in the morning, my time, or whatever time it was their time there, right? and we're right, we're deep in the midst of all of that the one night, and Gear goes, Tim, and then I'd nodded off, and he goes, Tim. I go, Gear, and he goes, "We need to write a Christmas song." And I said, "Yeah, that sounds great. What would it be called?" He goes, "Christmas in the North." And I'm like, "Okay." And then the next day, right away, I wrote it, and I got them to play and sing on it. They shot a little video over there. We did a video over here, put it together, and we were able to release it in time for Christmas prior to the release of Torture Rock and Roll. It was the ultimate gift. It was so good. It was a beautiful Christmas.
I love that. So that's what's so cool about, obviously not the pandemic, but what it has brought, right? Where you can now go and reach out to anybody. I would have never thought of doing this component over a Zoom ever, right? Just never even came into my mind. And now I've interviewed people in Australia and, the UK, and I would have what am I going to do? Right? I'm not famous enough yet to go and have them fly here, right? Which, one day that would be really, really cool to go and do. But Zoom has allowed us the opportunity to go and do that. And then obviously the opportunity for you to go make music with, a totally different band that maybe you would have never ran into. Never.
And actually, it looks like we're going to head over there this summer and go play a big festival. It's called the Midnight Rock Festival, and it's in northern Norway. It's right on the ocean. On this little spit of land that goes into the ocean. And so it looks like we're going to go out there and do that this year and do a little tour with them. So yeah, it's pure magic. And my friends Grant and Barbara from Galaxy 107, absolutely amazing people. And what a gift that song was.
I love you. I love it. Do you have any kind of rituals or anything that you need to do in order to get on stage and be in a state to play and perform?
Well, I mean, yes, absolutely. I don't know how much you know about me, but I do a lot of work in sort of the spiritual world and meditation and consciousness. I'm really a seeker of all of that. And so I believe that the mindset is the most important thing when you go on stage. So I'll do obviously the vocal lesson or the vocal warm-ups and all of that kind of stuff, and make sure my body's ready. So I do a little bit of exercise. I do like a 7-minute workout before I get on stage. And but then I just really, I go into that place and I visualize the show.
I love it.
So much like a elite athlete, visualizes their ski course that they're going to ski prior to skiing it, and they do that every day, every night. I also visualize the show and how it's going to go, and then just simply go out and follow the script.
Did you always do that?
I think it's something that's in the last few years. Really, I've done a lot of personal development myself, and obviously I teach a lot of personal development with people in my coaching business. But yes, so it's something in the last, I would say, in the last 5 or 6 years that, and now more important than ever.
Yeah, especially now. So let's take you back when you were fairly young. What was the very first song you ever learned to sing? Rock and roll wise, maybe.
First rock and roll song I learned to sing. Well, I know, it was Prism, Take Me to the Captain.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah, Prism. That record just really, like, it stuck out to me big time. And I was in guitar class, acoustic guitar class, grade 8, and I learned Take Me to the Captain. And I learned how to sing and play it. Yeah.
I love it. And you also play drums. Who was kind of your drummer back then? Was there a certain band that you liked to play because maybe the drums were really easy at that time? I'm a drummer. I'm not amazing, but I did find when I started playing drums, it was like, Lake of Fire or like some AC/DC, some kind of punk thing that was like 3 beats and I could figure that out. Was there somebody that you're like, okay, I'm going to learn this because it's easy?
Totally. As a matter of fact, I'm not that great of a drummer. I mean, that's why, the band is kind of myself and my drummer, Bob Wagner, because he's an amazing drummer. But yeah, after guitar class, I got into band class, and then there was a position to play the drums, and they're like, okay, you want to play drums? And I'm like, okay. But I only knew like 1 or 2 beats, and the one beat that I knew was the Queen song, "We Will Rock You." So like, June, June, ba, June, June, ba, June, June, ba. And you know what? The band teacher was so nice. Most of the songs that we were doing in band ended up having that kind of a beat, like a backbeat. And he just allowed it to happen. And it was great. I'm Mr. Stobie. I'm so grateful to him for allowing me to do that. So I didn't have a lot of repertoire, but that song stuck out to me big time.
So then you started playing bass, and then so you liked it, didn't like it, or you just really wanted to get to guitar?
Well, bass was again inspired by another Canadian band, Spider from Streetheart. He inspired me. That was one of the shows that I saw, one of the first shows that I ever saw. And I was like, oh, that's what I want to do right there. When he did the solo and Under My Thumb, I was like, whoa. And then, I dug into the bass big time. I would say that bass is still my sort of my main instrument now, for sure.
Yeah, you enjoy playing it a lot.
I do.
Yeah. So is that kind of your go-to instrument? You and a bunch of buddies sitting around having some cocktails, you just start jamming. Would you just grab for your bass?
That would be the comfortable one for me. The most comfortable and where I could do the most work would be with a bass, for sure.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, next song.
It's my time.
Love it. So good. Speaking of bass, right? So crazy.
I couldn't really hear the song. I think your mic is...
My Garden.
Yeah, oh, My Garden. Okay. Wow. Yeah, My Garden. 1993 is when I wrote that song. It was right after I had a record deal with Paul Stanley from Kiss, the band that I was in, Unchained. We were a Van Halen tribute band that turned into an original band, and we got a tape to Kiss when they were in Vancouver. The next day, Paul Stanley calls us up and says, hey, really love this music. Would you please come to Seattle? Would you be our guest tonight? And we drove down to Seattle. We met Paul Stanley. We met the whole band. We met Kiss. Gene was there being all tough and stuff. And like, because they're all in their makeup, right? And we're backstage. Yeah. It's like, we were just so intimidated. And then we ended up signing a management deal with Paul Stanley. And he was our manager for about 4 years. We had a record deal with Polygram Records. We flew down to LA and we recorded the first record. It was an EP, and we were about to start to release that. And the first Nirvana record came out, and it just kind of, everything just went away. And so My Garden was the first song that I wrote on my own. And it was really, it's a snapshot of how angry I was at the time. My garden was a place where the flowers grew, but it's choked with weeds since I learned the truth. Because I had this dream to work with Paul Stanley, and I made it come true. And then it was ripped away from me.
Yeah.
And so that's really what that song is about. And I've been hanging on to that song for, well, how long now? Was that 30 years? Been hanging on to that song. And then when Torture Rock and Roll, when I wrote the song Torture Rock and Roll and the album started being built, I went, oh my, this song's going to fit in here perfectly. And so here it is. But that's where it came from.
I love it. Okay, so let's dissect that a little bit. How did you get a tape to Kiss, and why Kiss?
Well, Kiss was the inspiration for me right from the start, right? For sure. But yeah, they were playing in town. It was the I think 1988, and they were playing what was the tour? The tour was the Hot in the Shade tour, and we knew that they were staying at the Four Seasons Hotel. We knew that's where all the rock stars stayed. So the guitar player and our friend who had a Kiss fanzine, they went down to the Four Seasons, and Eric Carr, the drummer at the time, was sitting there in the lounge, and they said, "Hey, can we sit with you?" And my friend Ron Rocks from his fanzine did a quick interview, and Benny, a guitar player, handed him the tape and said, "Hey, could you give this to Paul or Gene? You know, that would be amazing." And and the next day we got a call. And it was probably like, you know, I can only imagine, like I visualize them on the tour bus and, you know, Paul Stanley, because it's 1988, right? And not everybody had a cell phone yet at that point, but it was probably one of those big brick cell phones, right? And it probably, you know.
I'm going to call these guys.
So, yeah, it was.
When you talked to him on the phone, were you like, bullshit, this is not, or were you just like, this is crazy?
Oh no, we were like, I mean, obviously the breath was taken right away from us. Like, is this for real? You know, and then we just, like, when we hung up the phone, it was just like total excitement. And then driving to Seattle was total excitement. You know, what a trip. What a trip.
What about your experience walking around the corner and just kind of seeing them, like you said, all in makeup?
Crazy, you know, like crazy, going backstage and you know, there's these guys, you know, they're 12 feet tall, right? And it was, what an experience. And then, you know, and then being in the, you know, being side stage watching them play, and then afterwards, and all the girls, and oh my goodness, like there's some really crazy stuff that happened that I can't even talk about on this podcast.
Well, you can. If you really What is one thing that Paul Stanley taught you when you were working with him that you admired the most?
I think it's songwriting. Was songwriting and production is really the biggest gifts that I took away from that experience. You know, my aunt had a restaurant in North Vancouver, and I was sort of managing the restaurant, and it had this room in the back where you can have like parties and stuff like that. And it had a bit of a stage. And that's where we worked with Paul Stanley doing pre-production for the album that we went to LA to record. And so, yeah, he just showed up in a cab one day and hung out with us for a few days and really, you know, taught us the fundamentals of songwriting.
Yeah.
And why he liked our songs, but that this was this piece and this was this piece and that was that piece. And, you know, and so it made me understand that, you know, even though we were writing very instinctually at the time, now I had the actual framework for it. Yeah. Right. And how to write a pre-chorus and a chorus and a bridge and where to put things. So that was good. And then, of course, being in Los Angeles with him in the studio with, you know, with the rest of the band and these amazing producers, it was like, okay, this is how production works, right? So it was a crash course, high level university course in songwriting and production.
Yeah. Do you feel like he is pretty down to earth? Like, how would you describe him as a person to work with?
Well, I mean, he was very, very, very cool with us. You know, he was very straightforward. He was dating Samantha Fox at the time. Remember Samantha Fox?
Yeah, I do. Touch me. I did a grade 7, probably not the best song to do grade 7 lip sync to my whole school was Touch Me by Samantha.
Nice. I can totally see you doing that. You've got the look, right? So I can totally see that. Jesus. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, in the studio, he was in celebration mode too. I mean, you know, it was the time of, you know, where record companies had huge budgets. And so, I mean, they railed his Porsche all the way from New York to LA so that he could drive his Porsche when he was there. You know, they put us up in a 5-star hotel on Sunset Boulevard. And like, we had carte blanche, like we had like bottles of champagne in the room. We had ordering whatever we wanted. Like, it was just total elegance, you know? And debauchery too, of course, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
You had leftover girls from Kiss.
We were out at the Rainbow Room, you know, we were out at the Whiskey, it was just craziness. But yeah, he was chill. When we were at the studio, he was hanging out with Samantha Fox on the couch and they were making out and it was just cool. And then he would have his ideas and, you know, but he was so chill. He was so chill.
How many times did you see Gene Simmons share his tongue with all the ladies around?
There's some details I can't reveal.
What has been your best audience that you've performed for?
Oh, that was definitely with there's two. But the one that sticks out the most is when I was probably 20 years old and had the Van Halen tribute band, Unchained. And we went down to California for a tour down there with that. And we played the Santa Clara County Fair.
Oh, wow.
I think it was like 5,000 or 6,000 people. And they had it was like a rodeo grounds kind of, and they had this mobile stage that a big Kenworth truck pulls up in front of the bleachers, and massive stage. And I'll never forget walking out to 5,000 or 6,000 people screaming at the top of their lungs. I mean, we may as well have been Van Halen.
Yeah,
you know, I think it was Van Hagar was. You know, like it was no longer with David Lee Roth, but we were the David Lee Roth band still. So they were like, yes, right?
Finally.
And they went bananas. And I mean, afterwards, we got in a golf cart and we drove around. We did a victory lap and signing autographs. I mean, we were Van Halen that night. So that one definitely sticks out. I mean, number 2 is I have a ZZ Top tribute band also. And we played a festival here called Rock and River. And a country music festival, and playing that one, and a similar type of situation with thousands of people, massive stage with a massive light show, and that one's definitely second. So, yeah.
So why did you pick a Van Halen tribute band when you were starting?
it all came from guitar class. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, we sat around. Do you remember those headphone splitters that you could sit at? You could plug in a bunch of sets of headphones
Yeah.
in high school. So we had the coolest guitar teacher, right? We come in the one morning and to sit down, he goes, okay, today we're going to listen to some music. And I said, okay. He says, and this is new music, and I think you're going to find this interesting. So we all put on our headphones, we're sitting at the table, and he puts on the first Van Halen record. And we're like, the Running with the Devil starts. We're like, whoa, that's heavy. And then Eruption, it's like, it was just like, what is happening right now? I remember, I can still see it right now, looking around the table, we're all locking eyes and going like, what is happening right now? So, you know, yeah, Van Halen was that band.
Yeah.
They were that band, you know, so yeah. And
That's
really,
a big band to tribute to, like Eddie Van Halen, you know, the guitar, like that's insane, right? For somebody to go and learn and play like that. And then obviously have a band like that is, you know, who were you the lead singer?
No, I was the bass player. I was the Michael Anthony character in that one.
I was going to get you to do some dance moves for me. Like, you know.
Do some splits over here.
I just kind of want to see you in tight pants. That's all.
Exactly. Get my spandex. Well, we used to wear spandex all the time. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, no, I mean, we had the guitar player, Benny, my friend, who was, you know, yeah, he did Eddie as good, if not better than Eddie, believe it or not, and still does. It's amazing. Like, so that was really the amazing part. So we delivered with that. And then, yeah, the way it morphed into an original band was just so amazing, because it's still, again, it's like the torch of rock and roll, right? You know, like rock is not dead. The real Van Halen wasn't dead. We kept it alive.
Yeah.
But it did die when grunge came along.
Yeah, it sure did. Do you have any pet peeves? Anything that drives you crazy?
People who aren't authentic.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah. I hate fake people. Sure, I take that back. I don't hate fake people. Fake people are a turnoff to me.
Yeah.
So when words come out of their mouth, but you know that it's not real.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my pet peeve, is people who are not authentic.
I think with all of your kind of spiritual background, and I am too, right? I was a healer before I started in finance, and it is just like that I can tell. I'm like, no, we're not going to meld.
Yeah.
Right. Or do you feel like you're the same way? You kind of can walk in and just be like, yeah, I don't really need you in my life.
Absolutely. I trust my instinct and intuition more now than I ever did. It is my greatest gift. There's no doubt about it. And I can tell right away if somebody is good for me in my life, or if someone's going to be stealing my energy. You know, it's just that simple. And if you're not authentic, I'm sorry. Lots of love to you. And, you know, whatever I can do to help you was fine. But if you're not authentic, we're not really a match.
Yeah. If I have to always like go to somebody else to fill my cup after I meet with you, probably not.
Brutal. It's the worst. Yeah.
So you're a dad?
Yes, I'm a dad.
Okay. How many kids do you have?
One. Her name is Maya. Maya's 11.
Wow.
She's just started wearing makeup.
Uh-oh.
Very interesting story. I come home the other day and she's got the Amy Winehouse thing going on. I'm like, whoa. So yeah, but you know, she's amazing. I took the first 5 years of her life. I sold my business. I had a business in the film industry that was, you know, a multi-million-dollar business. I sold it because I wanted to spend those first few years with her, because, you know, all my research on kids, knowing that those first 5 or 6 years are the most important.
Yeah.
Those are the ones. Yeah. Those are the ones where you can have the most impact in their life. And I went, okay, this is my opportunity. You know, I'd done it for 13 years in the industry. It was a great experience, but it was 24/7. You know, it was all encompassing. It took all my time, and it was time to go.
What's one thing that your daughter has taught you?
That love is unconditional. Yeah, that love is unconditional. Absolutely.
You get worried if she wants to date a rock star?
I think there'll be a little bit of worry there. I mean, I'm still a dad. I mean, I want the best for her, and I know how I was, and I know how rock stars are. So, but I trust her. She's got great instincts too. I feel like I've instilled that in her. So she'll make her mistakes, but
Hey, we all do.
And rock stars might be part of that.
I love it. All right, next song. All right. Coming on. I love it. Some good double bass in there. I like that.
First song off the record. Yeah, that's the first one. And I mean, chosen because of that also. I mean, that again was written right during the middle of the pandemic. And, the chorus is as you've listened to the record is a very, very like bright open chorus, right? And it's a message of hope, right? So from the depths and the doom and the pressure of the pandemic, there's also this opportunity to open into this brightness. So that's really what Coming On is about a new energy. And yeah,
I love it.
I'm so awake that I never sleep. That's one of the lines in the song. So that kind of speaks for itself. It is about awareness. It is about consciousness, but also this message that we need to dive deep into some of the darker stuff in order to experience the lighter stuff. Yeah,
I agree. Have you had anything embarrassing ever happen to you on stage?
Yes. Yeah. Splitting the seam in my spandex. Yeah. In the crotch area. Yeah. And, it was back in the day when you didn't wear underwear so you could, be as revealing as possible. Yeah. That was definitely. And then actually there's another one besides that. We got paid by a club once and it was a ladies' night.
Oh.
And we got paid to go out on stage without pants on.
No.
Yes. So we only had our guitars to.
No way, really? Is
that
this
was
on video? Do I get to see this somewhere?
It was not a good choice. It seemed like a good choice at the time with the money that they gave us. But when we got out on stage, it was like, this is not a good, it was awkward. I've never held my guitar in one spot so much in my life. And you know what ladies are like at ladies' nights, like they're like rabid animals, right?
We're hungry. We want some meat. We're not shy. We're like, you're on stage performing and I'm going to have some meat. Thank you very much.
Hungry like a wolf.
That's right. Have you had lots of female stalkers in your career?
Yeah, there's definitely been some of those where, especially when we used to tour a lot, back in the day when you could play at the same place for 5 or 6 nights, and then you move to the next place for 5 or 6 nights. And then so every once in a while, someone would show up in the next town that was from that town. And I was like, uh-oh. And, and then 2 or 3 towns later, and then it's like, oh man, this is not good. Right. So yes, that has definitely happened. Thank goodness I had lots of friends who were exotic dancers who kind of covered for me. And, we kind of got rid of them when they came about. But yes, but the letters and yeah, absolutely. It's happened.
Did you kind of growing up in all these different types of bands, obviously women were probably everywhere. Were you like Motley Crue with the titty cam, or did you have lots of flashings going on back then?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, nudity was like an everyday thing, really, when I think about it. especially because, like I said, all of our friends, our close friends, were exotic dancers. Like they would book their tours to follow our tour, right? You know what I mean? So there was a lot of nudity was just a regular everyday thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Where's your favorite place that you've ever toured that you didn't maybe expect?
I'd have to say going down to South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, and playing on 6th Street down there. Yeah, that was one of my favorite tours. We played at Six Flags, it's kind of like the PNE or the CNE. And so playing right in front of the big roller coaster, right? That was really cool. That was super cool. And then playing on 6th Street itself, and just the energy and thousands of people. And, you're playing and, there's the window there to the street and people are banging on the windows. And that was a really cool tour. Really cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Were you not sure about that venue just because it was Texas and you guys were so different, or?
No, we fit right in. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, we fit right in. Absolutely. No. It was a great fit for us. And that's a lot of, and our American audience are mostly in the Southern states for sure. Yeah. They love the name, The Mighty One, because it still kind of appeals to the Bible Belt, you know what I mean? But it's still this rock and roll. So it's a really good fit.
Yeah. Why did you choose that name? How did you come up with the name for your band?
The Mighty One was really, I was sitting here in the studio. I tried to keep bands together. I had this ideal of, 4 members in a band together, Kiss, Van Halen, and the brotherhood. And I tried so hard to make that happen. But because I was still immature as an artist, I didn't realize that I've got a really strong idea of what I want the songs to sound like, and how, what the final product sounds like. I already hear it in my head.
Yeah.
And then everybody would start putting in their ideas and I'd go, yeah, it's cool, but that's not it. And so people would get upset. They go, well, do you want us to be part of this band or what? And they would leave. And so another one had just fallen apart at that time. And I sat here and I'm like, okay, so what was this band going to be called? I'm going to start a new project. And I went, I'm here by myself. I'm just one, but I'm mighty. So I'm the Mighty One.
I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's different now, of course, but that's where it started. Yeah.
Do you feel like ego is a big part of why bands break up?
I think so. Absolutely. Especially unchecked ego. You know what I mean? So this is not about, I'm not the Mighty One because I'm egotistical. I'm the Mighty One because I realized that I have a strong idea. Actually, Dave Grohl helped me realize that. When I teach at a recording school here in Vancouver, Nimbus School of Recording, and I use Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters documentary a lot. And he talks about that too, about, having the Foo Fighters, getting the Foo Fighters together, going into the studio, recording, everybody leaves the studio and he goes and re-records everybody's parts while they're, they come back the next day and they go, it's totally different than what I know. I did it the way that I wanted to do it. Right? So, and then I just realized, oh my God, that's exactly how I am. Yeah.
It's interesting how, when you have passion for something and you want it to go your way.
Well, it's not even wanting it to go my way. When you see it, when you hear it, when it's already complete in your head, letting other people take a piece of that is a compromise to your original vision. So, it's just simple.
Yeah. Right. Next song. So high again. So good.
Yeah, this one's really, really close to my heart because I've lost a lot of friends to drugs and alcohol. Obviously, that's one of the problems that comes with rock and roll is the excess.
Yeah.
And So High I wrote because I was observing the fentanyl crisis when it first really came into my awareness about 3 years ago. And I went, why do we need to get high? Right? And I realized that it's really about, we want to try to get to a higher plane. We want to connect with God, really is what it is, right? We want to connect with something that's higher than this. And drugs sometimes can be that. They can be that vehicle, and unconsciously that can be done, or it can be done consciously. We have, different medicines now, mushrooms and different psychedelics where people are reaching these states and having these aha moments. But So High was written more about people experimenting, and because of that, losing their lives because of fentanyl or something like that. There's something in those drugs that they're unaware, and they're very, I'm sure that addiction could be part of this thing, of course, but I'm talking about experimental drugs, and I'm talking about accidental deaths from fentanyl. So that's really what that song is about. And I've got a huge vision for that song. I've written a script for actually it's a short movie with 6 different characters in it, from different walks of life, all the way from, some kids that want to try out some ecstasy on the weekend to a very, a business executive, a woman who's sitting at her desk. It's 2 a.m. She's been working all day, and she pulls out a line of cocaine, but everybody dies in this video or in this movie, right? But they die accidentally.
Yeah.
And they all come together. So I want to use it as a public service announcement to bring awareness that using drugs recreationally could be the way that you go out. I mean, we in BC, I think 2,500 people, right? Like more than even COVID passed away last year from accidental death from fentanyl. So that's the vision for that. Actually, an interesting story. Just recently, the record company that I'm with, Big Records, the president, Mark Rosner, has some friends in the federal government. And I went to the federal MP from Maple Ridge here. I went to his office and made my proposal because I'm looking for some support from like Health Canada or Fraser Health or something like that, right? To really bring this project forward. And so I went and made my pitch to him, right? And said that, hey, I've got this song, I've got this movie, and, I think this could be a great tool to bring awareness. I'm even willing to go out, because I'm a speaker also, I'm willing to go out and speak to kids or organizations or groups and bring awareness to this, right? And he was like, he's a huge advocate for different bills going through the federal government for addictions and stuff like that, and changing. It's a health issue more than it is anything else, and than a criminal issue, I should say. It's a health issue more than it's a criminal issue. Yeah. And he said to me, he said, I can't wait to hear the song after what you've told me, right? Because we put me in this beautiful in this boardroom, and he had all his people there, and I said, well, I'd love to play the song for you. I brought my guitar, right? And so we sat there in the boardroom, and I played the song for him, and there was a lot of tears. There was, it's very, very real. So that song has a lot of intention behind it. Mm-hmm. And actually just the other day, because I've had a vision, because I wrote the song about 3 years ago, I had this vision about 2 years ago about a video for it, right? The movie, obviously, I'm thinking about, right? And one of the scenes in the movie is me playing in a cemetery.
Oh, wow.
Right. On a cold winter's day, and there's mist on the gravestones, and the sun is rising behind it, and I'm playing. And well, this video, one of his assistants took a Facebook Live, put it up. And this videographer, a friend of mine, reaches out to me, and he goes, Tim, he says, I've lost 3 people to fentanyl. I want to support you. Whatever I can do to support you, I would love to do that. And he says, I've got time tomorrow morning. Do you want to go and do some shooting somewhere? And I'm like, yeah, there's a cemetery that I want to go to. It's going to be a cold winter's day. I don't know if there's going to be mist, but let's go do this. And we got to the cemetery, and there was no mist. There was, in the low-lying lands there was, but this is up high. It's called Mountain View Cemetery. And we're there. We shot a little bit of stuff. And then, it's like 10 minutes from sunrise, and all of a sudden, this beautiful, magical mist rolls into the cemetery. And we did one take, the sun rose, and it was gone.
Wow.
It was absolutely magic in it. Like, when I'm talking miracles, that was a miracle. That truly was. Really what I saw in my head was exactly what was there. And I was blessed by Mother Nature.
That's amazing. I'm originally from Nanaimo, so one of the drug and crime capitals of Canada, and I grew up. That's how I grew up. I grew up with, my mom is still an addict, right? She's a heroin addict, and she has been since I was 17 years old. And I moved that as soon as I turned 19, it was like, I'm out. I'm moving out of Nanaimo, right? I have to get out of here, get away from that whole scene. And I moved a couple of my good friends here as well, somebody that I grew up with, and we kind of grew up in that lifestyle. And I don't stay in touch with any of those people back home, like none. And we talk quite regularly, me and my girlfriend, and it's just constant.
Yeah.
This death. I dated her brother for 6 years, and he died 5 years ago from fentanyl in Vancouver. And it was crazy. We went back to go see a Lady Gaga show. I flew there, took my daughter, and she was going down and to meet some people in the restaurant who I literally have not seen. Like, I've been away from that scene for so long. And I was like, I don't want to say panic attack, because I don't believe that I could ever have those, just my type of personality. If people do, that's fine. But just sitting at the table across from those people, it was just, I went outside, I had a smoke, I had to calm down. I was just like, it was such a part of my life that I ran from for so long. And now I was kind of being faced with it. And I was like, this is, even though they were clean, but like just hearing, oh, hey, did you know this guy's dead? This guy's dead. This guy's dead. And I'm just like, oh my God, these are like all the people that I grew up with. Like, is anybody still alive? Like, it was so sad, but I was so grateful that I had the drive and the determination to get out of there.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it showed me, I may not have the perfect life that I have right now, but it showed me that it's way better than what it would have been if I stayed there.
Yes.
And that's all I kind of needed. It was like I needed some closure, right? Like, just to be able to kind of move on. So I think it's absolutely amazing what you're doing, because there has to be more awareness. Yeah. And it's really scary. And I think the kids today just don't think about that kind of stuff at all. And the drugs that we did back then are not as hardcore as what they are today. Like, who knows what you're even doing? If we did ecstasy back then, it was true MDMA. Like, it wasn't like cut with 15,000 things. Yes. Right. And now it's just, I'd be scared to do drugs right now.
Well, but kids are still experimental, and you know how it was when we were younger. You feel like you're 10 feet tall and bulletproof, right? So nothing could take you down, and so seeing this happening, I know that I have a role to play in bringing awareness to it. So this so high is that piece.
I love it. Yeah. We are on your last song, and I wanted to just ask, instead of playing it, did you want to play it?
Sure. What song is it that you want me to do?
I was thinking Torch of Rock and Roll. Is it hard to do?
That one's a hard one to do acoustically. That one's
okay.
Really
so
tough.
Why don't I play it, and then you pick a song that we can end with? I'll play it before we get to talk about it.
Okay, sure.
Yay.
I got one.
Yeah.
inspired you to obviously write this song? I know it's about your life, but that's sometimes really hard to go and express like you're like 20 years in a song, right? It's impressive.
Well, it's more than 20 years in a song. That's like, that one honestly is like 40 years in a song.
That's impressive.
Yeah. I mean, it goes, I mean, if you've seen the music video,
Yeah,
the
I love
animated
it.
one, you know, that's real. That's my story. I mean, this a moment of awakening when I wasn't allowed to play the guitar in the church. I wasn't allowed to play the guitar in my house. So I had to take it out to a granary, to a silo, and I ran 300 feet of extension cord from the pig and chicken barn. And, you know, it's that moment where I plugged everything in, I plugged the guitar in, I cranked the thing to 10, and I hit that first note, and it's just like the whole building just went, wah! And it was like, it was in a moment of awakening that this is my purpose. This is what I'm supposed to do. I could feel it on a vibrational level. You know, it was just everything in my body just went, yes. Everything in my mind went, yes. But most of all in my heart. And that's where this torch was lit, right?
I love it.
And so that's really the essence of the song. And, you know, when, you know, the story obviously is told, right? Meeting Paul Stanley, right? And getting a record deal. And now I'm taking that torch and I want to bring it to other people. And I want to light that for other people. And, you know, it's a bigger part of my story is that what I'm doing with personal development and with my coaching and things like that is really lighting people up in their purpose. You know, I'm working on a book right now called Torch of Rock and Roll, Lighting the Fire of Purpose, right? And not only will I tell my story, but I want to inspire others that if you really want something in your life, light it up. Light that shit up. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Yeah.
So why the animation video?
The animation video, my friend Kenji Rodriguez, he's from Mexico. He did one for us in 2011 called "Waiting for You," which was a really big song at radio and much music again too, and was used by the NHL for when Sidney Crosby returned from his first head injury. And then the opportunity came up again, and I was working with Kenji. He was actually one of my clients, and I said, hey, I want you to do this video. Here's my story. And I told him the story, and he was just so inspired. He says, we have to do this. Somehow awesome. We have to do this. And if you look at the animated video, I mean, it's quite a production.
It's awesome.
There was 20 different animators that worked on that. Oh, really? Yeah, it was a huge team. Like it was all hand done, you know, and so, yeah, that's why. And I knew that song is my legacy. That's my book. That's my story. That's my autobiography. And now, as a matter of fact, we're getting ready to start production of the comic book.
No way.
It's turning into a comic book series, The Torch of Rock and Roll. So yeah, it's this whole record is a legacy record for me. This is the one. This is the legacy record. Will I do more records? Of course, absolutely. But this is the legacy one. This is where everything is really born from now. Yeah. Did you get to see pieces as the video was going on, or did you only get to see the last cut? Oh no, like I worked with the animators as they did the illustrations and things like that, developed the characters. I mean, what's in the video is only a small fraction of what was actually created. Like right now, we're working with a team. I've got another illustrator. I've got someone working on the script, because a comic book is a totally different thing, right? That we've ever done. But when it comes out, it's going to be amazing, because we found an old school printer, like with a printing press in Mexico, and he's going to do it on like that old newsprint paper that used to get your nice comics on, right? So it's going to be very retro. It's going to be we're really excited about it. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Tim, for being on the show. I'd love for you to sing us out. Sure. But before you do, I would love for you just to kind of share with the audience where we can find you, right? Social media and platforms, all of that kind of stuff as well. Okay. So, sort of the big big place to go is torchofrockandroll.com. That's sort of the main portal. And everything goes from there, but you can find us at The Mighty One Music on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and where else? TikTok. But yeah, so The Mighty One Music on most social media platforms, but Torch of Rock and Roll is where you'll find everything. Go check out our YouTube channel. There's so many great videos there. And make sure you always like and subscribe. We want to stay in touch with people. It's so important. And we're building the Mighty One Army right now. Just like I was part of the KISS Army in the beginning. We've got the Mighty One Army, and it's around the world. It truly is. So we would love to have you on board. Yeah. And I want to thank you so much for having me on the show.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I can't wait to have you again.
Thank you. Yeah, I look forward to coming back. Absolutely, Annette. The song that I want to sing for you on the way out here is a song called Burden, which is also on the record and was written actually a few years after I wrote The Garden, My Garden. I guess it would have been about 95, 96. And it was when I realized I had reached the end of my first marriage. It still took me 4 or 5 years to actually have the guts and courage to end that marriage. But this was the realization that I had at 4 a.m. in the studio. And I want to dedicate it to Johnny Cash, who's he's such a huge influence to me. All it would take, just let it go. I pay the price, I know. Under my skin, I fall apart. All that you've been alone. Hold it up high, here in my sky. I give you this burden, the end. Just gonna give you a little piece of it there.
I love it, Tim. Thank you so much. I so appreciate your time. Make sure you go like, follow, subscribe to Tim, right? I absolutely had so much fun. I love that you're open, honest, authentic, right? Willing to share. Next time we're gonna get down to some serious girl stories though, because I think that's important too.
All right, I'll pull out some pictures.
That's right. We need some pictures, and then go buy the album. Go download Torch of Rock and Roll. Incredible album. I appreciate your time so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Annette. I really appreciate you and Music Junkies podcast, and look forward to sharing it with our audience.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening today. Hope you enjoyed the show. New episodes out every Monday. Please share with a friend and subscribe because you want to. And like me because you like me. Leave a comment so we can connect. And if you have a great playlist and you want to share, I'd love to have you on the show. Please reach out to me on Instagram at The Music Junkies Podcast.